And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thomson. 100% agree. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
Well, here we are once again. It's the Weighing In Podcast. Like Bruce Puppy there for a moment. What's up, my man? How you feeling?
We're doing good, man. I got a house full of sick family, and so it's two little ones are sick. The wife is sick. Everyone's sick right now. So that, and just try, like when you get back from vacation, there's all these things that you need to get done. Look, let me just say this real quick. If somebody on this pod or listens to this podcast works for the plunge, which is the cold plunge, the ice plunge, let them know that I need some contact information. I need help.
Is your plunge not working?
No, not only is my plunge not, the pipes on
your plunger's not
no,
working.
the plunge on the side, my plunge. The pipes on the side, for some reason, I filled it all up and started running it. They all burst, like 4 of them. Just water started shooting out of everywhere. Pipes cracked, everything. I'm like, what the hell just happened? So I
know what happened. It broke.
Yeah. Genius.
Sorry.
Genius, man. Look at the big brain on Big John. Oh man. So if someone works for the plunge, it's funny because my buddy Luke Rockhold, he also had the plunge, and I kid you not, within like a year, he's like, this is just a big piece of shit. And I've had nothing but great things to say about it. And I love it. The problem is that now every pipe on the side is cracked or broken. All of them. Every single one.
Can I ask what kind of, when you say pipe, what kind of pipe?
A little PVC pipe, probably like
PVC. Is it PEX? Do you even know what PEX is?
No, I don't. Tell me what PEX is.
Oh shit, man.
Tell me what PEX is.
I'm not gonna get into it. All right. PEX is the new. It used to be like in buildings, you couldn't put PVC in it. So they would put, at one time it was galvanized pipe, then it became copper pipe, which is really good. But you got to solder everything. And then finally they allowed PEX, which is a plastic pipe. And you can put all these breaks in it with what we call shark bites. It's a great system. Love it. And it doesn't burst even if it freezes. Like PVC right away will split. Even copper pipe will split. PEX will actually flex.
It's probably not PEX then, because this thing split right down the middle of it, John. And it's during the winter, I took all the water out, flushed the system through, made sure there was no water in the pipes, nothing. And I put it actually under the overhang, put something warm. I put a blanket over the top of it so it didn't sit out in the cold. Like, I know that doesn't always help, but I'm simply saying that I did everything.
Well, no, if you drain the
everything,
the water out of the pipes, there's nothing to
everything
freeze.
I drained everything. I drained it actually even before it started getting cold, because I knew I wasn't going to use it anymore, because the pool started getting cooler. So once the pool hit 47, 48, I started using the pool instead of using the plunge, because it was just running. You had to keep the plunge running all day because the filtration system, keep the water moving, all of those things. So I actually did all the right things to try to take care of it, and just knowing I didn't want it to break. Well, all the pipes,
do what it just did.
Yeah, all the pipes. As soon as I filled it up, I went to turn it on, and just water just shot everywhere. I was like, no.
Well, I'm not telling you it's any good, but when I come to visit you, I'll fix your.
Oh man, John. This is one of those things. I feel like
I'll repipe.
I can tell you it's not. What is it called? What'd you call it?
PEX.
It's not PEX. I can tell you that, because it split right down the middle, and then every joint where it connects, it started shooting out of there too. And so I'm just like, this is definitely, I got to figure it out. I don't know what to do.
This is not good.
I need to call them, but they only have a call system that works, I think, from like 9 to 5. They have normal jobs, unlike us. We got to work at all different hours. Sometimes 3 a.m, for everyone here.
Oh, trust me, man.
Look, we've got a couple things we're going to talk about. We're going to mix in some news, because right now the card's kind of light. And we know that the UFC card this weekend. You know what else I got to look up though real quick? Is Mike Perry and Jake Paul this weekend?
It was July. I want to say July 20th.
Is that this weekend then, right?
Well, I don't
that
know.
might be this weekend.
I can come up with it here.
Let me see if we can find this.
Let's see.
So,
yep, the 20th.
There you go. We'll talk about that fight as well. And then maybe what we'll do is we'll break all of our news into this show as also, or if not, then we'll break it out into one big segment, because there's a couple little news things, but none of them are really worth their own news clip. So we may try to do that, give you guys all the news on one clip, on a separate clip. So you guys can just scroll through that if you guys want.
Now the question is, are you going to watch Amanda Lemos versus Jandiroba, or are you going to watch Jake Paul against Mike Perry?
Ooh, I mean, one's free and one's not.
Yes, that is true.
That's
why
that's one way of looking at it, John.
I will be watching what's called the UFC.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think that we can find time to watch a couple of the things that we need to watch. I think it'll definitely be able to. Let me see. I'm sorry. I'm trying to pull this up right here too. There's a bunch of little things in here that I'm trying to get pulled up. Dun, dun, dun. Let me see, John. Let's go ahead and jump. Let's jump right into the UFC though. But before we jump into it, hey, here is a word from our sponsors over at BetUS. Want to thank them for continuing to sponsor us, and here's a word from them.
BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook and casino. Live betting and racebook. We're celebrating 30 years with a historic offer. A 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits. Plus 10% gambler's insurance. Get started today. BetUS, where the game begins.
All right, John, look, let's go ahead and jump right into the main event. Go right ahead, bud.
Hey, we got him. Like I said, Amanda Lemos versus Virna Jandiroba. Obviously, both ladies are very good on the ground, but Jandiroba has got a phenomenal ground game. Lemos is absolutely talented on the ground, but her game is the stand-up. So this is going to be that stand-up battle of Amanda trying to keep it on her feet and Jandiroba trying to get her to the ground. Now, you look at Jandiroba's stand-up. It's basic. It's gotten better. I'll give it that it's gotten better. It's not as bad as it once was, but it's basic. But she's always looking for the takedown, and she should, because that's her strength. I don't know if she's going to be able to physically have the skill set and the power needed to get Lemos down. Lemos is physically strong, and nothing against Jandiroba. It's just that Lemos is physically, she's one of those ladies that you look at, she's kind of like a Liz Carmouche. Physically, very powerful, very strong.
This is one of those fights. It really comes down to, it's like a UFC throwback. UFC 1, UFC 2. Whoever gets the takedown, I think is going to, if she gets the takedown, Jandiroba does, she wins this fight. I think she has a good chance of getting the submission. It just, Lemos has been submitted before in a standing side choke. She's been finished. What was that? Squeak, squeak, squeak.
That's my dog Lincoln sitting here. Get this out of here. What are you doing? Go.
That's great. That's great. Nothing wrong with it, man.
I opened the door, let him in, and look at what happened.
When it's cold inside my studio, I let my dog in because he likes to lay on my feet. And I don't wear socks in the house. I hate wearing socks.
As soon as he came here, he's rolling around on his back. I go, uh-oh.
Yeah.
When he rolls around on his back, he likes to grab his toy.
Oh, no.
And start chewing down. I go, please don't do it. Please don't do it. Then all of a sudden, GG. I said, God damn it.
All right, so back to the fight. Look, I look at it as whoever can implement their game plan is going to win this fight. Lemos, if she can keep this thing on the feet, the speed, the power, the quickness, her ability to be very accurate with her strikes, I think she's got a good chance of getting Jandiroba out of there. And I think Jandiroba, if she can get this fight to the ground, she's going to be able to get the submission or at least control the top position so much that Lemos is not going to be the same fighter after round 2, after round 3, maybe even in round 4. On the feet will be a lot more hesitant of potentially getting taken down. And it's just going to come down to whoever can implement their game plan. Like I said, UFC 1, UFC 2, UFC 3 throwbacks. It's whoever has the better game plan and getting this fight, whoever's more skilled in those positions at the time and a little bit better in one area or the other. And that's where you're going to end up, I think, with the victor in this fight. But, John, I'm looking at this fight right here. I think BetUS, they might be in some trouble right now because you got Jandiroba right now at minus 135. And you've got Lemos at plus 105.
Ooh. Well, someone there is a Jandiroba fan, and that's fine, but I'll take Lemos all day long.
You're going to take her at the plus 105. You're going to bet the 105 to win 105 on that.
Well, you take a look, and people are looking at the fact that she got beat by,
I think Jessica Andrade, she got beat with the snide choke.
Standing.
Standing, yeah.
Standing. And so they're looking at that going, oh, that's something that it can happen. And it did. And it's not like it's because, she's, not talented. She made a mistake, and Andrade, physically powerful, was able to get it. I just look at Jandiroba, and like I said, she's good, but she works really hard for the takedowns. If she gets them, she many times ends the fight. But when she doesn't, she starts to lose a little steam in what she's able to do, and her ability to get the fight back to the ground becomes less, and then she gets more and more tired. I just look at Lemos right now. I don't know what the rankings are, per se, but I would say Lemos is the higher ranked fighter, and there's a reason why. She's fought better competition overall. I mean, Jandiroba has fought a couple of really good fighters, not taking anything away from her. I know she fought like McKenzie and, people like that, but Lemos is, really in a position where you can say she fought Mackenzie Dern, got a win there. She's fought Weili Zhang, for the title, lost it, in a, decision. It wasn't like she got put away. She beat Marina Rodriguez. She's walked through a lot of really good fighters. And I just look at it, I think she has overall, the better resume than Jandiroba.
Yeah.
I would take her in the fight.
Lemos is ranked number 3 and Jandiroba is ranked number 5. You got Jessica Andrade in the middle of them, and then you got Yan, who is at number 2, and then you've got Suarez at number 1 coming up.
Yeah.
Tatiana. Yeah. I'm waiting for that fight to happen.
That's
I think everyone's kind of waiting for that fight to happen.
Yep. No doubt about it.
Just the wrestling aspect of her, and just the ability to get takedowns. She's got good wrestling along with great jiu-jitsu, training alongside Patchy Mix, who's considered to be probably the best grappler in the game right now.
She's got better wrestling than just about every woman.
Yeah.
There is, not even, I'm saying at that weight class, throughout the ranks, her wrestling is phenomenal compared to just about anyone. There's not many. You can look, Kayla Harrison obviously has a different style, but she can wrestle, but she got her judo style, but Tatiana Suarez, look out.
John, the over under on this as well is at 2.5 at -180. I would almost guarantee this is going to go more than 2.5
over.
Yeah. So I would probably take the over on this as well. So I'm actually going to go with Jandiroba, because I think she will be able to get the takedown. My concern is if she doesn't get the finish in the first 2 rounds, it's going to start looking bad for her after that. But then if I also put some money down on the over, if she doesn't get the finish in the first 2 rounds, she's going to get pieced up because she's too damn tough for her own good for at least another 2 rounds. So for sure, it's going to go into the 4th round for sure. Okay, so, there's kind of 2 ways of trying to win your money back. If you lose it in submission, if she doesn't get the submission in the first 2.5 rounds, or she doesn't get it, then, she'll be able to gut it through for the next couple of rounds to get into the over odds. So I'm going to actually take Jandiroba to win this fight, I think, in the first 2 rounds.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm going to I think she gets the takedown. I think she gets submission. What concerns me is she's not very fast on her takedown attempts. She's not able to close that distance very well, which leaves Lemos able to just land the harder shots, really hurt her. But man, Jandiroba is very tough. So you're going to go with Lemos on the plus 105?
I would go with Lemos on the plus 105, and I would go the over.
That's a good bet. And you're going to take the over also? Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. I think you might be winning double money there, buddy. You might be winning the double money. Check out the odds over at BetUS. Also, now let's go ahead and go with the co-main event.
My farm needs the earth, the air, and the water. I get my energy going on LMNT Electrolyte Drink Mix. Clean, good-tasting energy that feeds me like I feed my plants and animals. And after a long day on the tractor, when it's time to shoot the podcast, I drink LMNT so that I can stay energized and stay salty. Let's get it on. You're talking about the Iron Turtle. I love that nickname. It's great. You got Brad Tavares against Jun-Yong Park, the Iron Turtle. How do you hurt the Iron Turtle? You don't. You think you do, but you don't. It just keeps getting back up and coming after you, and that's the best part of Mr. Park. He's fun to watch because he just keeps on coming forward. But Brad Tavares has really turned into an outstanding fighter. Here's a guy that, man, at one time you could look and you could pick out a lot of holes in his game, and tough, typical Hawaiian, just, bone tough. And will scrap with anyone, but now he fights with a ton of skill, and he's smart in how he attacks his opponent. And he's got power in his kicks. He's got power in his hands. He can keep himself, from being taken down against just about anyone now. He's fighting as good now as he ever did. And this is a great matchup because we're going to see how does he handle the pressure of Park, because Park is going to be coming after him. Park's going to walk forward, take shots. And this is one of those ones where if you're Brad Tavares, you got to just put it in your head. I'm going to hit him, and then I'm going to watch him walk through it, and I'm just going to hit him again. And I'm going to say, man, that was my best shot, and I'm going to just hit him again and just keep on saying, just going to keep on doing this. And eventually it'll add up, but it's going to take a while for it to add up.
Yeah, you have to mentally prepare yourself for that going into your training camp. Hey, this guy is known for taking shots. He's known for taking them and walking forward, basically punching yourself on his face, pitching yourself out on his face. And so Brad Tavares has got to be prepared for that mentally. If he doesn't go down, or even if he does wobble him a little and he's not able to finish him, he's got to make sure that he's conserving some energy, understanding that Park will still be there in rounds 2, possibly 3. That's a mental reset every time you do that. Every time you rock him, every time you put them down.
It is, but it's one of those exactly like you're saying. If you put it into your mind and during camp, hey, I know this is going to happen, you don't get tired. Mm-hmm. But if you don't, you think you're going to hit him with hard shots, and all of a sudden you're out there, then you're going to get tired because you're going to be throwing hard, trying to, I want to throw it, the next one harder, the next one harder. You can't throw that hard. You just got to keep touching him.
I had to do the same thing with Gilbert in all of his fights because I had trained with him before and understood how tough he was, and he could just walk through my shots. I never possessed power, so he never really had to respect what I had on with my hands. The same thing I had to do with Nate is I knew that Nate was going to take a lot of shots. I knew that I was going to have a hard time with him. Another textbook, like just such a beautiful performance was Cody Garbrandt against Dominic Cruz. He knew that Dom was going to talk shit during the fight. He knew that Dom was going to try to get under his skin during the week. And look what he did. He mentally prepared that whole time. And it showed when he got inside that cage. When you convince yourself that, look, no matter what he does, I'm going to go out there and do this, this, and this, and stay on your game plan. And when it starts working, I mean, there's nothing that can beat you, man. Nothing can beat you. So I think with Tavares, he's going to have to make sure that he just stays on point, doesn't overcommit. Overcommit on things too much. Land the hard shots, circle out. Don't stay committed to standing in front of him and banging with him because that's what he wants. He's got a great chin. Park does. But Brad Tavares with BetUS is at plus 140 and Park is at minus 170. I mean, that does make sense because if I'm going to go into the later rounds, which is where they have it favored to go over at 2.5 at minus 215, which I think this fight will go into the late second round, into the third round. I think it will go. So I look at that fight. I think Park is obviously, I think, going to get favored is the longer the fight goes because he will take more shots and he will keep pressuring. So this is one of those fights, John. Can Tavares get him out of there? And if he can't, can he just outpoint him?
Is exactly what it is. I don't see either guy finishing the other in this fight. I think it's going to end up going to 3 rounds, and the judges are going to determine who is better.
So who are you taking? You're going to take Tavares on the plus 140?
I'm going with Tavares.
You're going to go with Tavares on the plus 140. Really?
I'm going to take the plus points on that. I always love a dog that I know can win the fight. Now, I'm not saying that Park can't beat Tavares, but I know Tavares can beat Park. And so I always go with the dog if I can in that situation.
This is one of those fights where you want to call up Eric Nixon and be like, hey, have you guys mentally...
How's training going?
How have you mentally set him? He understands that he can't just get in there and do a slugfest for 3 rounds, right? He's got to pick him apart, land the hard shots, don't get overzealous with it, that kind. That's where you want to do that. But then, you can't. So, but hey, best of luck to both those guys. But that should I don't think this card is stacked with name value. But you and I were talking before we came on. And I think, to be honest, I think there's a lot of little fun fights in here that could be crowd favorites. That could be fun for the crowd that are there. I think it would be fun for everyone that is watching at home. I think they're just going to be fun little scraps. They may not be the most technical. They may not be the most powerful. But, man, there's going to be some back and forth battles, I think, in this fight, in this card. Yeah. This should be for some fun fights on this fight night. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. What do you got for me, John?
Steve Garcia against Seung-Woo Choi. This is actually a really good fight. Garcia's been on fire. he has been lighting people up. And I mean, he fought Chase Hooper and, destroyed him basically. And that's, but we had talked about Hooper at that time, and he's still growing, and, he's got to build up that man strength and everything. Just didn't have at the time. But, he went through, Nurdenbecky.
Yeah.
I think it was Nurdenbecky, who is a strong wrestler and just performed beautifully in that one. I think it was an uppercut that fucking landed in that one, and he's just progressed with every fight. You're seeing new things. He's getting better. And Costa was his last fight. Mm-hmm. And Costa is, one of those guys that I look at, man, he's good everywhere. And he showed that in his last fight. And I just look at that right now. It's those guys that are hot, those guys that are able to really show, what, I am improving with every fight. And right now, Steve Garcia is proving that.
It's the confidence. And then after you win, like you start building up your confidence, seeing what's working for you in the gym, and no one has a solution just yet for it. That's when you feel like you're unstoppable. And that confidence will carry over into the cage. And with Choi, with his thing is that he's good, he's talented. He just leaves himself open to be countered a lot. He tends to take some big shots. He's fun to watch fight. That's what
he is tough as hell.
That's what I was talking about when I said, like, this may not be the most technical fight, but it's going to be a good fight back and forth. They're going to get down and they're going to get after it. And so, and I really I'm looking at the odds here as well. Garcia's a minus 150 and you got Choi at a plus 120. I'm going to actually lean like you are, though. I'm going to go with Garcia at the minus 150. I think that he's just going to be too tenacious. He's going to come forward. He's going to try to close that distance. He'll do some grimy work against the fence as well. Knees, elbows. He'll get in that clinch and do some dirty work in there. All legal. I meant dirty as in like he'll make it a grimy fight. all legal. Choi, though, he's going to want to keep that distance, try to land the striking from the outside. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. Garcia's going to have too much pressure, and Garcia will dig deep, I think, in those later rounds. So that's where I'm at on that. Next fight.
I agree. Kurt Holobaugh against Kyan Kruschewsky. And this is one of those ones. It's like, I want to say that Kyan Kruschewsky is not Polish. He is Brazilian. So I don't know where he got the name, but his daddy did not come from Brazil. But you look at it, and we know, Kurt Holobaugh is a veteran fighter, tough dude, very good ground game. Not a fast fighter, doesn't have a lot of physical attributes other than technically on the ground. He is very good, very smart, knows where he's at, knows what to look for, and he's just tough as hell. He does not quit. Mm-hmm. So this is one of those ones, you look and you go, I'm saying that Kruschewsky is a guy, so he's got 2 losses out of 17 fights, mm-hmm. 15 wins, 15-2. And they're putting him in now against Kurt, and you look and you go, all right, he lost his first fight in the UFC when they brought him in. I understand why, because he came in on the Dana White's contender, and he lost the first one, but he lost that to Brenner, mm-hmm. and Brenner's tough as hell. Yeah. And so I think they're looking at this one as, all right, we're going to give you a guy that we know is tough. We know he's talented, but he's not that super athlete. So let's see what you do. So I'm looking at him to perform well.
Yeah, Kruschewsky got knocked out pretty bad in that fight against Brenner. Like, he hit him, I think, right behind the ear, though. Perfect connection right behind the ear. Yeah. But Kruschewsky's also had some highlight reel knockouts. I want to say in the LFA. I think I saw one of them. There was another promotion that I watched of him fighting, and he had a beautiful left hook that just sent someone named Luis. I think it was his last name, or Ruiz was his last name. I mean, he sent him to the Twilight Zone. I mean, that's how damn hard he hit with the left hook. It was beautifully done, executed. Holobaugh, I think he's going to have to be gritty and grimy. He's going to have to make him miss,
that's his game.
Yeah, make him miss and make him pay kind of position. Move his head offline, almost fight him like a little bit of a Mike Tyson. He's got to just kind of work his way in and throw big shots, because he doesn't want to be on the outside taking the leg kicks and getting the head kicks and having to block and defend from the outside and trying to reach and lunge in. He's got to be making Kruschewsky fight off of his back foot.
Yeah, so. I agree with you. If you're looking at Holobaugh needs to be. We're in a phone booth this entire fight. we are chest to chest or we're on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stay on the outside. If I stay on the outside, I'm going to get eaten up. So
Agree.
I think he knows that going off of the start, and that's what you're going to see him trying to do.
Next fight.
Cody Durden going up against Bruno Silva. Both of these guys they're fun to watch. They're entertaining as far as their attitudes. Cody Durden coming from, Georgia, has got a wrestling background. He's coming to his own with the UFC because when he came in, he had big time attitude, big time, what he was going to do and stuff. Kind of got put in check a little bit, as far as, hey, you're going to have to learn. There's levels to everything. And he did, but he's really come back and he's performed well. But Bruno Silva is like the perfect fit for Cody Durden's kind of style, as far as Silva's the guy that comes after you. Durden comes after you. These guys are going to meet in the middle, and it's just going to be like, as you say, two ferrets going after it.
Yeah, the two of them. Look, Bruno Silva right now is a -105, and Cody Durden is a -125. It's a very evenly matched fight.
Even fight.
I look at it as being like whichever one can implement their game plan, almost like the main event, except they're different. Whereas the main event is one needs grappling, one needs stand up. Both of them, Silva and Durden, are going to try to keep this, I think, on the feet. Durden may try to grapple and wrestle a little bit to kind of mix up the monotony, because I think he understands that his way to win this fight is getting this fight to the ground. Silva needs to keep this fight on the feet, stuff the takedowns, try to land the big, hot, powerful shots, the heavy, powerful shots. I mean, not hot, powerful.
Well, they could be hot.
They could be hot too. But yeah, they've got to be heavy and powerful.
Kind of like your cold plunges right now.
Yeah, it's bro, you're killing me, man. I'm so upset. I'm like, realistically, I have to go to the damn store now to go get ice now to put it in there and just basically fill it up with water. That's horrible. I was kind of just wondering, should I just go buy an ice machine?
It's like I have one.
Yeah, I just need to go buy an ice machine and then just.
It's like a big Rubbermaid now.
Yeah, man, it's
a big Rubbermaid tub.
And it would have been a lot cheaper to go buy the Rubbermaid. A lot cheaper. So, all right, next fight.
All right, we got Doo Ho Choi, who is absolutely entertaining to watch, against Bill Algeo, another guy very entertaining to watch. A lot of different techniques coming from him. I think this is a great matchup as you're looking at styles and guys that bring the fight. Both of these guys do things that are crazy at times. They both can fight in the stand-up, on the ground. This is a great matchup and a great way to start the main card.
Yeah, Bill Algeo is at -175 on the Bet US odds, and then Doo Ho Choi is at a +145. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah, but Algeo's coming off of that loss to Kyle Nelson, and it was he got rocked in that one. Got hit with some big heavy shots that put him away in the fight, and you look and you go, and he's had great performances. His fight with Alexander Hernandez, he performed great, but as we always say, that loss, it's going to be in the back of his head. And Choi is that guy. I don't know if you remember Choi when he I think he was undefeated at the time that he fought Cub Swanson. And man, I'll tell you what a unbelievable back and forth battle. So he's proven that, he's got no give. He will not quit in the fight. Algeo won't quit in the fight. I think, to say that Algeo is the favorite, I agree with that. But Choi, like I said, he's one of those dogs that, he can win this fight.
Yeah, Algeo coming off the loss though, and you're saying it was a knockout loss?
Is to Kyle Nelson?
Yeah, I haven't seen. I'm sorry, I haven't seen. I don't have the screen in front of me like you do. But yeah, if that's the case, then those are the things that linger in your mind. Can I get hit again? Will I get knocked out again? Will it make him hesitant? And Troy's got some power. He's got long range. I want to say he's got a 74-inch reach, is what he has, I believe. Yeah. That's pretty damn long, John. What are they? Lightweights? Featherweights?
Yeah.
Light.
Featherweights.
That's 100 and that's crazy. 74-inch reach is not. That's like I think mine's like 69 or something like that. And I was a lightweight. It's horrible. John, we started off with, we had to take a quick little intermission there.
I needed because rain. All my wood is outside. It's all stained and it's gonna get wet. And we need the rain. I don't know about where you're.
Yeah,
at,
we definitely need it here.
It hasn't rained here. It's dry, and so
they put some restrictions on our water stuff here. So,
big old dark cloud. So I'm gonna get something. Don't know what.
So, but Bill Algeo and Choi should be a fun fight. I think it's going to be one of the more entertaining fights of the night, and it's a good way to start off the card, as you were saying.
Yeah, absolutely. That fight should action packed the whole time.
Absolutely.
Should be fun.
All right, well, hey, that's going to wrap up our UFC talk. We're just going to talk the main card tonight, and then we're going to go from there. But we're going to jump right into the obviously Mike Perry and Jake Paul fight. John,
interesting.
What's interesting about it to you?
Look, what's interesting to me is these are guys that have sparred. They trained together.
Mm-hmm.
They sparred each other. Jake Paul has brought Mike Perry in at times, and that was while Mike Perry was, being an MMA fighter. So, sparring is something he does, but it's also just one part of everything that he was doing at the time. And now Mike Perry has he's strictly a stand-up fighter. He's fighting, bare knuckle boxing, and he's been doing fantastic. People can sit there and say whatever they want. Mike Perry has proven himself to be an absolute badass, and he's fun to watch. He's entertaining. He comes to finish fights. He doesn't want it to go to a decision of any kind, and he has the wherewithal to put shots on you that can separate you from your consciousness quickly. Jake Paul is a good fighter, and I'm not going to sit here and take anything away from him. He's done incredibly well. If you want to look at, the list of people that he's fought, it's different. I'm not going to say it's not, he's got some good names on there, but they're not a lot of boxing names. You can go back and, he started off with the basketball player. Well, I think he started off with another YouTuber. I don't know what his name is, but then he had the basketball player and Nate Robinson, and he knocked Nate Robinson out. And, hey, no matter what, neither one was a boxer, but he showed, hey, he's got power. He took on Ben Askren. At the time I thought this is a horrible fight for Ben, but I kind of then bought in like you, like an idiot. I listened to people and heard, hey, one's been a world champion. One guy's a YouTuber. Okay. Yeah, maybe Ben will be able to get it, get in there. Nope. He put him away fast. Fought Tyron Woodley, multiple times after that, fought Tommy Fury and stuff. So you can sit there and take a look at, the people he's fought. He's got names. Anderson Silva's in there now, but the Tommy Fury is the only one that's put him in the position where he was boxing a guy that could box. And I don't think Tommy Fury is the guy that's going to want to take a punch to give a punch. That's not. And there's really not anybody on that whole list that you can look at that he's fought that is that real guy that just, I'll bite down and I'm going to fucking walk forward and punch you in the mouth. Well, I think Jake Paul is going to be on his bike in this fight. I think he's going to have to use his footwork, use his lateral movement, be a guy that's just trying to snipe. Don't try to sit there and knock Mike Perry out. If you try to knock Mike Perry out, he's going to end up, you're going to overextend. He's going to catch you out of position and he's going to end your night. So I look at it, if you're Jake Paul, you better go after this like I just want to outpoint you. I want to just keep on putting shots on you, keep you at distance. Don't let you walk me into a corner. And anytime you do get me into a corner, I'm going to grab hold of you and I'm going to get the referee to separate us so I can get out. And I'm just going to go back to doing the same thing over and over again. I think there's one guy. I don't think that Jake Paul, and I'm not saying he doesn't have knockout power. I don't think he can knock out Mike Perry.
Yeah, I don't know if he can with the big gloves.
Yeah.
This goes, for me, it goes even deeper than just the fight itself. Mike Perry taking this fight is guaranteed, obviously, a lot of money for him to I feel like he is hurting his brand over in the bare knuckle world in taking this fight. If you do lose, you have...
Well, you're taking a chance.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah. But he's gambling. Hold on. The one thing you got to give him, dude, who's he gambling?
Himself.
There you go. Right away. Okay. I understand. If you're betting on yourself, I'm 100% behind you.
Yeah. Yeah. I look at it where he's had success there. It's kind of his world. And like you said before, what your dad told you, never play another man's game. He's literally walking into somebody else's game going, look, now he can box. There's no doubt about it. But then the big gloves, little gloves, it makes a big difference.
Oh, yeah. The shots that he's getting through on people, that, hey, I'm going to walk through you. You're going to hit me. I'm going to hit you. And we're going to see who hits harder. That will not completely work in boxing because that glove does not get to its target.
Yeah. The other take on this for me is that they sparred a while back, and he straight up, Mike Perry said straight up, like, he's like, look, I had this in the back of my mind. One day we may fight. He's like, I was out hanging out. I wasn't in fight camp, this and that. Yeah. He's like, and he was hitting me with some good shots, but I kept telling him, oh God, good job, man. You fucked me up. You did this, you did that. All those things being said, he also knew in the back of his mind, one day we may fight. Give this guy his props. Let him know that. But he's like, I'm way better than this, that I performed that day in sparring. I'm a way better fighter. Don't think that that's the guy you're going to see when I get inside that ring when we do fight.
And I totally agree. I think that's true.
It's 100% true. There are many times that fighters have shown up at sparring, went in and sparred with someone, just got pieced up or wasn't the same because the night before they were out having dinner, they were out having drinks, they were out having a glass of wine, whatever it was. And they show up to spar. When they're not in fight camp, it's not real to them. This is like, look, let me go in, let me get my 3 or 4 rounds, keep my body in motion, get some rounds in with a top level fighter. But it's not the same.
Josh, I have an experience where I went with a guy that was a professional heavyweight fighter at the time, and he said, "Hey, can you spar?" Sure. I said, "Just go easy on me," and I did really well. I was like, I did good. He came back the next week. He beat me like a fucking pillow. I mean, I had more lumps and bumps. He just fucking walloped the fuck out of me. And I was like, who the fuck is this? This is what I thought was going to happen the first time, and it didn't. So I got kind of like, I'm good. No. Completely different.
Yeah.
It was like he had a severe hangover that first fucking time. And, someone had taken his juju beads, so he wasn't feeling good that day. And so I did okay. Oh God, the next time, And so you just training is training.
Yeah,
sparring is sparring.
I can't tell you how many times that I've come in and just been like worked with amateurs, worked with guys that are lower on the totem pole, in the gym, and just didn't feel like doing much that day. So I just moved around, touched them a little bit. They probably got the better of me. But then, you give yourself a week or two into camp, or maybe the next day, you're like, look, I just didn't feel like working. The following week or 2 weeks later, or, a month later, you're in full camp and you're ready to go. You're not letting that kid touch you. That's not happening. That's not and that kid's believing what happened last time.
You just turn it up 2 cranks and it's all a completely different story.
I mean, there's just times where you come in and you don't want to grapple all that hard. You don't want to, you just want to kind of pull guard and play the bottom game. And there's times where you just want to be defensive on the feet. There's times where you just want to cover up and clinch a little bit, kind of hang on the other fighter. I'm not saying that's what happened with Mike Perry. I'm just simply saying that he understood that that's not the best guy. I was nowhere near where I'm at now and this and that. So he understood. And so I'm just wondering if Jake Paul understood. And I don't look at it in this fight. I don't look at it as, I don't think Jake Paul is going to stand there and take one to give one. He's not that type of fighter. He's going to stick and move, stay on the outside.
Yep.
I just don't know if that's the way that Mike Perry needs to make this fight to win. I don't know if he can do it, though, for the full amount of time. I mean,
you got to figure out, I think this is 10 rounds?
I believe so.
Is it 8? Because he normally goes 8, so it might be an 8 round. I don't know. But I look at it, and it is the whole thing with, Perry's been doing the bare knuckle. The bare knuckle is 2-minute rounds.
Yeah.
Which is both good and bad because it's a sprint. But you do get that little bit of extra win, and I think that
it's an 8-round fight.
See, 8 rounds. That's his norm, Jake Paul's norm. But I'm sure that Mike Perry can settle himself down, and everything is going to be about how nervous is he, and I don't think he will be. I don't think he's going to be nervous at all going into this. I don't think he's going to have a lot of trepidation. I don't think the butterflies are going to be there. I don't think the big crowd. He's had big crowds. His fights with MVP in England was a huge crowd. His fight with Eddie Alvarez was a huge crowd. He's had those. So, what is this? As far as being different for him, it's really not.
Yeah, where does Dave Feldman go from here though if he loses?
That's and this is the whole thing. This is the whole reason why Dana White goes, "Why would I do that?" And you look and you go, "I totally understand."
Yeah.
I totally understand why you say it. It's like, this cannot help me. It can only hurt me. If Mike Perry beats Jake Paul, what is Dave Feldman going to be able to get out of it other than, well, my king of violence went over and shut up the YouTuber? But he's not going to be able to use it so much, as far as his bare knuckle brand, because it was a boxing match, right? And so you look and you go, there's not a whole lot there for him to get out of it, but there's a whole lot to lose if his king of violence loses to Jake Paul. Even though it's a different sport and he can say that, it's never going to look good. That's one of the reasons Dana, always says, he says, I'm not going to co-promote. I'm not going to put my champion against another champion. If that champion wants to fight my champion, there's a way. Come over to us and we'll talk about putting you in that fight. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree with you. It leaves Dave Feldman in this position where Mike Perry's supposed to beat him because he is a YouTuber. But it also, even if he does win, it doesn't give him any credit. The one thing you may be able to take away is maybe you'll get, a couple thousand people that are now start following bare knuckle because they like the way that Mike Perry fought. You might be able to get some of those YouTubers to start following Mike Perry over in bare knuckle, and you may be able to get. But if he loses, now you've lost some of your bare knuckle fans. Like, that was the big reason why they were watching, was to watch Mike Perry fight. I'm not saying you're going to lose a lot.
Come on, be honest. Tell me that when you looked and you knew that Mike Perry was going to be on the card, you were like, oh, I got to watch that one.
Absolutely.
I am. And so I look and it's like, he's got right now, he's in that position. He has that it factor with bare knuckle boxing. He doesn't have it in MMA because there's a lot of people that can beat him. He's limited in what he can do in an MMA cage, as far as, especially with the wrestling and the submission game. Obviously, if it's a stand-up fight, yeah, he's in it. But when it comes to bare knuckle, you're looking going, hey, I've seen this guy beat guys that I know were world champions in MMA, and he's done it viciously. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking for.
I don't know, but I think it's going to end up being a great fight. I think it's going to be a fun fight.
I think it'll be a close fight.
Especially the first 4 rounds.
I really do.
First 4 or 5 rounds are going to be good because, like you said, Mike Perry is used to fighting 2-round bare knuckle, go. He's going to be in shape for this fight. There's a lot of money on the line. There's a lot of eyeballs on him for this fight. He's going to get more eyeballs on him, I think, for this fight than he does in bare knuckle. So there is a chance for him to steal some of those YouTube fans and bring them over to bare knuckle. He's got to get the win, though. He's got to get the win because if you're Dave Feldman, like, literally you're going, if you lose, you come back to me, we're going to have to kind of restructure your contract because it's not the same anymore. It's not the same. You're not bringing me the same product. I built you up and now you left and now you're a tainted product. You're not the same product. You're not as marketable. You're not as indestructible as I made you out to be in bare knuckling. And that's the problem. So, and even though the bare knuckle is more of a vicious, violent sport, it's hard for me to turn around and be like, yeah, you got beat though in boxing. Even though they're different, the casual fan's going to go,
it's totally different.
Yeah, they don't get it.
No, casual fans going to say, well, one's with gloves, one's without it.
Other
than that, it's the same.
Yeah, you should have won with the one with gloves on because it's not as violent. It doesn't make any sense. But you know what I mean? Like, this, Mike Perry is textbook and tailor-made for bare knuckle boxing. And I hope him going over to fight Jake Paul in this is not going to ruin his brand. I enjoy watching him in bare knuckle, and I enjoy watching bare knuckle altogether. I enjoy watching that promotion. So hopefully he gets the win and we can move on. We can move on.
Sounds good to me.
John, what else was there? There was some other news that you and I were chatting.
Well, let me. I got one more thing I got to ask you. Does this, if Mike Perry beats Jake Paul, especially if he beats him by a decision, I don't think it really makes that big a difference. But let's say he beats him pillar to post and gets a decision, or he knocks him out. Does it do something to Jake Paul ever fighting Mike Tyson?
If Mike Perry destroys Jake Paul, that fight doesn't happen. Mike Tyson and Jake Paul do not happen.
That's what I thought.
And I think just automatic interest from Mike Tyson disappears, not just with Jake Paul, but I think it disappears from fighting anybody, maybe outside of the only other biggest name I could think of for him to fight would be Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz and Mike Tyson. That would be the only other big name that I could see potentially fight. That I'm just throwing that out there. Look, I'm saying, well, we're talking viewership, and we're talking people that would be it. But I don't even know if that would be a fight that Mike Tyson would want. You know, I mean, it doesn't. I get it doesn't make sense, but I'm simply saying, if you're taking name value, who would be the next step? Who would be the next step?
I don't know.
Person?
Nate Diaz has enough problems right now getting his money for his last fight with George Masvidal. So,
but John,
there is that thing that went down where he was guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say $10 million for the fight. Yep. That based upon pay-per-view and ticket sales and everything. Look, he did his part.
Before we
no.
Before we go on to Nate Diaz, I have to bring this up. Okay, I just looked him up right now. You have the Bet USL. Mike Perry is at plus 300, and Jake Paul is at minus 400.
Oh, I'll take Mike Perry all day.
It may plus 300. So just throw down $50, right?
Hell yeah.
Throw down $50 and see what happens.
That is exactly the kind of bet I'll throw $50 down on Mike Perry for that fight. It doesn't bother me. It's like if I lose it, then I don't eat that night.
You don't eat that night?
Big deal.
I don't know if you've ever missed a meal from the size of you, buddy.
I've missed a lot of meals lately, man. Trust me.
Oh, but plus 300 for Mike Perry on Bet US. You got Jake Paul at minus 400. I'm going to probably ride with Mike Perry as well. I may not put the 50 down. I may put the 25 down. But if you're feeling lucky.
You coward.
No, but look, he may be able to. I think that Mike Perry can win the first. I think he'll lose the first round. I think that Jake will just stick and move. But as you get into round 3, 4, 5, and 6, those are the rounds that I think he'll start to win. Because I think Jake will be a little bit more findable. He'll be able to reach him and find him more inside the ring. And those will be the rounds. But will they be enough rounds to get him to win? That'll be my concern right there. So rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, I think Mike Perry will have some success. 6, 7, 8 may or may not. I don't know yet. I'm not sure. So we'll see. He may get tired. 2-minute rounds in bare knuckle, 3-minute rounds in this. Could be a big difference. So 8-round fight. All right, now let's go ahead, John. Let's get into the Nate Diaz, Fanmio, and talking conversation. Let's go right ahead.
First up, well, the whole thing comes down to this: if you sign a contract, someone guarantees you a certain amount of money, and then goes, "I can't pay you that."
Okay.
Really?
No.
Really?
Okay, so let me give you.
Go ahead.
Let
me hear it.
I am 100%.
Let me hear your side as you stand with the promoter.
No. This is where I am at. I'm a huge Nate Diaz fan. I don't care what anyone thinks about me or says about me. I am a huge Diaz brother fan. Okay, grew up fighting on the same cards with Nick. Love Nick to death. Okay, excited to watch him fight coming up. Love Nate Diaz, no matter what people think about me. I don't give a shit. I love Nate Diaz. I love what they do for the combat sports industry, both of them. So I have nothing negative to say about them. Okay. That being said, on the promotion side, okay, they do, I believe, and I love Fanmio. I worked with them. I worked with them on this show. I think that they did a great job of doing the production. I think they did a great job of trying to market the Diaz and Masvidal fight, as well as the Sean Garcia and Fernando Vargas or Amado Vargas fight. Yeah, they did the Shane Mosley Jr. fight along with Danny Jacobs. They did a great job. This is where I think, from what I understand, this is where the problem lies, is that contractually Nate was supposed to do certain events to promote the fight, and he didn't. It's in there contractually.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. How many seats were sold?
18,000.
18,000. And how big is the arena?
I don't know, somewhere around the 18,000, obviously.
18,000.
Yeah.
think Nate Diaz did his fucking part.
John, there's different.
No,
Stop.
No, stopping. Listen, you can sit there and say whatever you want.
No,
I'm going to say whatever you want.
I'm going to tell you you're wrong.
That's fine. And Fanmio can sit there and say whatever they want. Oh, contractually, he didn't cover all of the bases that we had in the contract. Okay. Did he fucking fill that arena? They didn't.
Who's they?
I guarantee they didn't.
Who's they?
Right? Fanmio.
Well, son,
they didn't fill it.
John.
No.
There was
the person
Sean
that
Garcia is
filled
from
that
LA.
arena.
Fernando Vargas from that area.
I understand.
It's not like
that.
they did not sell tickets.
I know they sold tickets,
then,
but the person that put the most butts in seats was who?
John.
It was Nate Diaz. Okay, so you don't sit there and tell me
it was Nate Diaz.
Amado Vargas sold the more tickets. Okay, didn't happen. Sean Garcia didn't happen. So the guy that sold the most tickets is the guy that is now not being paid. You can sit there and say whatever you want. You don't pay him. You got your little contract. You are fucking done. Done.
Then they can be
done, son.
They can be done then. Okay. But look, my point is though, is that there was a contract written and he was supposed to honor it. He didn't honor it. Look, the UFC had the same problems with him. So to say that we're surprised, we're not surprised.
The UFC paid him.
You're right. You're right.
Everything they were supposed to pay him.
Okay. You're right.
And you know why?
Because
was he a needle
mover?
He was a needle mover, and
out there.
He fucking fought his ass off no matter what.
I get, John, I understand everything you're saying. I do understand everything you're saying. But
I just can't believe you're on the side.
I'm not. I'm simply saying that
you are on it, dude.
I'm not.
You are fucking paddling hard for that fucking side of the fucking boat.
I'm honestly saying that, look, you have a contract that you signed, that your team signed, everyone signed. And I hope he does get his money. I hope he does. But I'm honestly like, you didn't do a majority of what you were supposed to do on that contract. Like, I'm sorry, but look, and this is not about seats. John, they ticketed, I don't know if you know what the ticket prices were. It was $75 for floor seats. So you sold 18,000. Great. You sold out the crowd. I thought beautifully. Seats up above were like 25 or $50.
I love that.
I agree with you. I love the fact that it was that way because more people got to come and watch one of their favorite fighters fight.
That's right.
And I love that about them. But let's not forget, this is the pay-per-view industry. This is not just in the arena. You need to make sure that we're making money. That.
But if you're Fanmio, you've got your little people. You got your little people that are telling you, oh, we should make this much or that much, or there'll be this many pay-per-view buys.
No. That wasn't the deal, though. The deal was you do the marketing that you're supposed to do, and we'll help sell pay-per-views.
He went out there and fought the fight, and they're not paying him. They are finished if they don't pay him. Who the fuck is going to trust him?
Well, if you do your contractual obligations, right?
No, you can sit there and say what you want.
I'm simply saying, John. I'm not disagreeing with you on this. You and I we were texting back and forth.
For someone, Fanmio, to come up and say, "We want to do your fight, and we'll pay you this," and you're the people that didn't pay Nate Diaz, right?
It's definitely not a good look, John. It's not. It's horrible. I'm simply saying this though, is that if you're a fighter and you have done business with them before and you got paid. Okay, and you're now a fighter. Everyone else on the card got paid. Okay. I guess except for the main event. So the two of them didn't get paid. Now I don't know what that means because what I don't get is I don't know why. I don't know what that means in terms of if George didn't get paid, what did he not do? Okay, if Nate didn't get paid, what did he not do? From
what I saw, George was all over the place.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
doing media.
Well, he was doing the stuff that was in the contract.
I'm not saying he wasn't, but I'm saying, if they didn't pay George, George may be nice and is not saying something right now, but if they don't pay George will hunt them down.
I talked about this though on the broadcast when we did the show, is that Nate has been known to do this. He doesn't do any media really leading up to it, and the week and a half or 2 weeks before, he comes in hard. He just starts throwing water bottles. He starts yelling, starting fights. Like, this is what he does. This is what stirs up all that extra media that last 2 weeks. This is the way he's always done it. Leave me alone during my fight camp. I'm in shape now the last week and a half, 2 weeks. Now I'm ready to go ahead and start talking trash. You know what I mean? Like, I got to get the work in first. And it seems like that's what he does. Like, he makes sure that you guys, everyone stays away from him for the first 6 weeks, 7 weeks, you know, and then that last week and a half, he's guns blazing, go ahead and talking shit. It's like, I've already done all my work. I put in the hard work on the mitts and on the track and on the, you know, and in the pool and all of these things. So yeah. I'm on the fighter side in terms of getting paid. But
sure doesn't sound that
John,
way.
where do we? But you're drawing a line, basically saying that he should get paid even though he didn't do his obligations.
Hey, did he fight?
So just fighting's just the standard now.
Excuse me.
No, is that the standard now?
Did he show up and fight that?
So should
night?
we just not sign? So what's the point of contracts? I'm just so what's the point of having a contract, John? What's the point?
Hey, sometimes there are no contracts.
If he can
renege
on that, but then I can renege on paying him.
Sit there and say, I saw him in press conferences and I saw him show up and fight. You better pay that man.
Okay. You're setting a slippery slope for every boxer.
I'm not setting up any kind of.
Oh yes, you're
slope.
opening the door. You're saying you're saying is right. Fighters neglect your contract. Just go.
This is the slippery slope you have.
That's all that matters.
Because Fanmio is sitting on that slippery slope, and someone's pushing them from behind. Because as soon as they get to this, it's going to be downhill for not paying Nate Diaz. I don't know. I feel like, I'm always I'm siding with the side of the fighter. I want him to get paid. Okay. And in terms of what he did and what he didn't do in his contract, I have no idea, you know? But I'm simply saying, like, I know that's what was, he didn't tweet enough.
No, that's what was real. I don't know, John.
I don't either.
What was in there, but what you're saying though, is that it's okay for fighters not to do their obligations on the contract that they signed.
I'm not saying it's not okay for someone not to do their obligations, but when it comes down to someone saying, oh, the difference between me paying you $0 and $10 million after you fought for me is you didn't do all of the Twitter
we paid him
and
$1 million
Instagram messages we wanted.
He got $1 million up front, I think.
He got something up front, I know.
He's gonna get paid, John. There's just no way he's not gonna get paid. I don't know if he's gonna get paid the full $10 million, but
I'll tell you what.
Well, can I ask you this?
I'm just saying.
Can I ask you this? No, I'm having a conversation with you.
Okay, that's great. Let's go.
So if there was a direct, if you're saying all those people were in those seats because of Nate, correct? A big proportion of them.
Nate was a big part of it. And I'm not saying other fighters.
And I agree with you.
But Nate's a big part of it.
So why would there not be a bigger portion of them that would be on the pay-per-views? That's where they make their money. So when he didn't do his obligations, that took direct effect to his pay-per-view buys. So that's what I'm paying him.
When you're selling tickets for me to be able to go there at a price that your fucking pay-per-view is, I'm going to show up.
Okay, but when you're sold out, I'm just simply saying, had he promoted it, what about all those people around the world, though, or around in the UK or in Canada and in the US that can't make it to the fight? And he didn't do his obligations to advertise the pay-per-view beforehand.
How do you know he didn't do all of his obligations?
What's that?
How do you know he didn't
That's
do
what it says in the document, saying he didn't do his obligations. That's why they're holding his money.
So
whatever was released in the media.
So whatever they're saying is absolutely right.
We know there's two sides to every story, John.
Absolutely.
We know.
That's the whole point.
Okay. No, I'm getting it. But the thing is that you're telling me that you're basically saying that all those fans were there for him in the crowd. And
as simple as it gets. This is as simple as it gets. Let's break this into parts. Okay? Parts is parts. If you're going to take a look at what Nate Diaz did, and I'll say, I don't know what he said in his contract. I have no idea. But when he stepped into that ring against Masvidal and fought the 10 rounds of fighting, he covered, in my opinion, 95% of what his obligation is.
So pay him 95% then.
Okay.
So that's $1 million, which they did. They're done.
Have you lost your mind? How is that?
sorry.
Where's your mind?
So if you're saying, so pay him the 95%. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So pay him the 95%.
Yeah.
Pay him the 95%.
Okay. All right. I don't have a problem with it. He does, but I don't because it's not my money.
Yeah.
But 95% of 10 million would be what, Josh?
What, 9,000 or 9 million? 9.5.
There you go.
It's
a lot of money.
No, I know what you're saying. The bottom line is that this is obviously above our pay grade when it comes to contract stuff. You know, they need to figure it out. You're opening the door for fighters to go, you know what, I'm going to do all this stuff for you. John, we have sponsors and we've gone through this with sponsors. You don't deliver.
Yes,
what do?
They don't pay.
Did you want to run to them and say, guess what? We did this and this and this, but we didn't do this. And it doesn't work that way. You know, it doesn't work that way.
Well, you're the one that knows the rules.
Yes, I do. I do know the rules on it. This is why I'm on top of all this stuff.
I don't even know how to do that.
I know. This is why I'm on top of all this stuff. So it really comes down to they sign a contract to do it. I want Nate to get paid, and I think Fanmio needs to pay him. I don't know what the percentage is on it. Whatever it is he didn't do, you know, then it needs whatever. However they decide to deduct it or however they decide to negotiate, I don't know. But
I don't either, but I'm just being as honest as I can say without being a smart ass. Don't pay him.
Yeah, fine. Exactly. I agree with you on that 100%. But there needs to be something. They need to be held accountable for the fact that, like, you directly, not promoting the fight, directly affected the pay-per-view buys. And you can't deny that. Like,
I'm not denying it. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm not saying that there can't be a penalty. But, you know, when you're holding $9 million.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I'm interested to see. I mean, like I said, I'm interested to see where it goes from here. Like, because they didn't waste any time. The show was last week. You know, and there's already
it was fast.
Yeah. Someone was telling me it was a class action lawsuit, as if like other people didn't get paid. I don't know if that's the case.
Then that would be, well, it could be. I don't know.
Yeah, there'd have to be more than two. Yeah, more than two. And I would only think Chris Avila and him were the ones that didn't get paid. But I had also read that the whole card got paid except for the main event. And the holdings is because they basically, if you're going to hold from one, you got to hold from the other, apparently. I don't know.
No, and this is the difference is the California State Athletic Commission, since that fight happened in California, they hold a bond from Fanmio for the payment of whatever is on that contract as far as payment for that. Anything outside of that to do with like pay-per-view stuff, they have nothing to do with. So every fighter there that had nothing to do with any kind of pay-per-view, they got paid whatever was on their contract. They were handed a check that night when they went back to their locker room. Okay. Same with Nate, was handed a check. Don't know how much for, but he was handed a check in his locker room. Same with Masvidal. But that only covers the amount of money that the commission knows about. Anything that is, you know, done back doors or is part of a deal outside of it, they don't have anything to do with it.
It's gonna get nasty. I think it's gonna get worse before it gets better, John.
Gonna get ugly.
It's gonna get ugly. Yeah, well. I mean, I hope that they can make it work, because I think having an alternative source, you know, I think everybody right now is looking for another avenue outside of just the UFC and other promotions, whether it's bare knuckle or whether it's karate combat. They're looking for other avenues to make money. You know, There's John right now with the sparkling element. Obviously, it's hot out there.
Stay salty, my friend.
And so, you know, they're looking for other avenues to make money. And I think as managers and promoters, or not promoters, but managers, you're looking for other areas to take your fighters. There's just not enough fight promotions out there that are willing to pay.
Not with big money.
Not with decent money. Yeah, not even with decent money. You know, and it's unfortunate. We're starting to see, like, I think, a downturn where just basically the top promotions are rising. That's why I think bare knuckle is so unique, is that they're off in their own little world right now. They have their own little support, you know. And
they have their own little fan base.
Yeah, their own little fan base out there. So definitely something to keep looking into. I think that's pretty much it for us right there, John.
No, I got a couple things to talk
All
about.
right, go right ahead.
One, I want to say that Jon Jones has been formally charged by someone in the state of New Mexico for not being nice to the tester of when he was approached to take a drug test. Now, the only thing I'm going to say about that is she can say what, she was up, scared by him, any of those things. There is video that he put out that shows him conversing with both of these testers, bumping knuckles, all those things. So whoever with the Albuquerque, district attorney's office or anything that decided to actually press that, why are you wasting time? Why are you wasting taxpayers' money? It is ridiculous because it's Jon Jones. That is just absolutely stupid. Thank you. I'm done.
There was one last thing it said. I know we answered a fan question on our last show, and the fan question was about how media doesn't cover any other sports except for the UFC, not sports, combat sports, except for the UFC.
MMA media?
Yeah, the MMA media doesn't cover anything else but the UFC. Why don't they do that? This and that. So Campbell McLaren came out and said something on Twitter as well. Campbell. And
no Campbell well.
It says the main thing that killed MMA journalism was the disconnect of writers' leftist viewpoints and the UFC pro-Trump leadership, fighters and fans. MMA fans want stories about success and struggles in the sport, not in-depth look at fighter pay and left-wing discourse.
Kind of unusual that people are going to sit there and say what they want. Campbell is not what people think. He is not a conservative. Campbell is that guy who is he's liberal. And it's a matter of, it's kind of funny that he's saying that because it's really most of the mixed martial arts media stuff that really kind of cemented the way things are now happened long before Trump was ever running for president in 2016. You're taking a look at, somewhere in the area of 2007, 2008, when these things were starting to really take place. And that's when Dana came out, shut down, Sherdog as a, being able to go to any of the events as far as they could buy tickets, but they were not put in the media, couldn't get a pass, and things happen and stuff. So, I mean, I'm not saying he's wrong as far as certain things. I'm saying, when you look at saying liberal media, I think for the most part, most media is fairly liberal in the way they look at, different things. And I hate when they bring in politics with sports, but obviously politics is in sports too. Politics is in everything, but there are certain writers that write about, fighters that go to certain places or meet certain people or end up taking a picture with somebody that, it's like, what do you expect of the fighter? They're just, they were asked to go somewhere. Their manager put them in a thing. And so they go because they're going to, get paid to go and shake hands and kiss babies. And you're saying, oh, they shouldn't do it there. It's like, you get a lot of the media. There's some guys, some people out there that do that. And you go, you need to get off of them, man. You're being, ridiculous as far as what you're expecting of the fighter.
I would agree with you. A lot of this stuff happened, like you said, in the early days, like when the Josh Gross situation happened. And then also too, with the Ariel Helwani thing happened. I think that happened in 2012, 2014, somewhere.
That was a UFC 199.
Yeah. Something like that. Correct. So, I mean, like that's the UFC trying to control what is being put out, because they've got a lot of money invested in trying to make these things. They want to be the ones that break the news. They want to be the one that they put in all the money. They want to be able to reap the rewards by promoting it themselves.
Yeah.
I understand that. But then as time has gone on, they, with I think it was Bloody Elbow had a tendency to be very negative towards whether Dana White, UFC, looking into getting really in depth into the fighter pay. A lot of it coming from like this class action lawsuit, a lot of it starting to kind of trying to add fuel to the fire, I guess you could say. And to them, not in a negative way. But I think the casual everyday fans started losing interest when it became all about how to get the UFC.
Yeah,
You know,
I agree.
and John, you and I have been criticized on this show several times for being Dana haters, UFC haters, this and that. I mean, we love the promotion, man. And I don't have anything.
Yeah.
I don't have anything negative to say about Dana. I have my own personal stuff with him. You know, John has his own personal stuff with him. But in terms of what he does, in terms of with the fighters, in terms of trying to make events happen and this and that, I have nothing negative to say. You know,
what do I say? He's the best promoter there's ever been when it comes to combat sports.
Yeah, I don't understand how that could be negative.
It's pretty high praise, man.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I think where I would have to a little bit with Campbell McLaren is saying is that you have to stop trying to be so negative about things, I guess, and start talking about the positives of everything with the fighters and how great they perform and how well they do. Like, you know, this fight card that we just talked about earlier, it's not the most stacked fight card. It's not stacked at all. Let's be honest. There's really,
but it has some interesting fights on it.
It does. There's no real name value on it. And when you look at the fights, they're very evenly matched, or they seem to be evenly matched, but they also are matched in a way that if you're a fan sitting at home going, holy shit, that was a great fight.
Exciting.
That was a great fight. I'm sorry, but Brad Tavares and Park, that's going to be a slobber knocker, as John would like to say.
Yep.
This is
one
of
slobber
those fights.
knocker, man.
You know, someone either going to get knocked out or both of them are going to take a ton of damage for the 3 rounds. And I'm okay with that. You know, that's what we tune in to watch the fights for.
That's it.
And so
I can't expect every show to have this incredible matchup between these 2 top guys.
Yeah.
It doesn't have there's only so many of those 2 top guys.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
So it's you can't expect it, and I don't expect it. I appreciate when they have a card like this, because these are the cards that I always say I don't expect anything. I look at it and go, there's no name value. I look at the fights and I go, but that right there could be a good fight. That one could be a good fight. That's an interesting fight. So everything that I get out of it is just bonus. That's the way I look at it. So,
well, John and I
enjoy those.
We, if you guys have listened to us for a long time, is that we try to stay out of the political realm when it comes to this podcast, because politics I feel like it has no business in sports.
Politics suck.
Yeah, you just got to keep it out of sports. And I know we talked about it in the last show because of the Trump assassination attempt and all the other stuff, but we don't do that normally. It just for us to bring it. It happened that day. We got on. We filmed our show. It happened a couple hours beforehand. So of course we talked about it and the importance of just trying to turn your TV off and just get close to your family and friends and be close and talk to people. If you've got a problem with someone, try to talk to them directly, because you'll notice that their reaction is different in person than as if you were doing it through text or through through Twitter or Instagram. They're not the same response. And so talking to people directly and not being confrontational about it, but just opened up to a conversation, you wouldn't believe how much easier it is to have discord with people that way versus through Twitter and texts and emails and shit like that. So those are ways that I would suggest, we try to leave politics out of it, and that's what we try to do, even though we talked about it last show. But this is one of those scenarios where in this question that was asked, Campbell McLaren was talking about bringing politics into the media, and they had been doing it during this time from the 2016 election to 2020 election. There was a lot of that, not just in MMA media, but worldwide, especially in the United States. It's got to stop. Hopefully we can start to unite together, whether it's through sport or not, but I'm wishing for the best. And just having open dialogue with people and conversation with people is definitely the best way to do it. So
I agree.
John.
See, for once we agree on something today.
Well, that's it for us, guys. And hopefully you guys enjoy the show. And John, take us away, bud.
Hey, for everyone out there, I hope you enjoyed the show. Enjoy the fights this weekend, including the Jake Paul versus Mike Perry boxing match. Let's go, Perry. We will see you.